Hello and welcome to this video where we have come into DBT, so Data Build Tool. And here it's a little bit of theory of what is DBT and why is it so useful. And then later on in coming videos, we'll go into setting up DBT and then doing some coding examples before we actually build out different stuffs with DBT. So this is super cool. It's a super good tool for doing the transformation part of an ELT or an ETL. So DBT takes care of the transformation part. If you have, for example, a data warehouse, then you need to transform the data through different layers. And DBT is essential for doing that. And also, like, DBT is a kind of a language by itself, and then it will compile itself to different SQL dialects depending on which database engine that you have connected. It's a super useful tool to learn and have it in your tool bag if you're working towards the data analytics or data engineer. Yes, so let's move on to the slides. Okay, so now I'm in the keynote. So using DBT to transform and refine the data in different layers of our data warehouse. So we'll come back to the different layers of the data warehouse. But the most important part is that we have DBT to transform and refine the data. So transforming the data. Okay, so what is Data Build Tool DBT? So transforming data using SQL. And also we have Jinja macros for reusing SQL code. As from normal SQL, it's not as easy to reuse the SQL code, but in DBT you have Jinja macros for doing that. So you can see it as functions in other programming languages. And then we have DBT transformations. They can be orchestrated. And what this means is that you can have a transformation job after another transformation job. And when that finishes, another one will run. So when you're working with DBT, you can orchestrate it using other tools or by using DBT Cloud if you pay for that service. But we will use DBT Core in this course. So then you will use another tool for orchestrating it. For example, Dagster or Airflow. So it has very good integration with data warehouses, and the code execution is done in the data warehouse. So it's not done in DBT, it's done in, for example, Snowflake. If you're choosing to integrate with Snowflake, if you're choosing Redshift, then the code execution is done in Redshift. If you're choosing DuckDB, then it's done in DuckDB, okay? So note that we have a lot of different data warehouses. So what it does is that you still write the same DBT code, and it will compile the code to the specific SQL dialect. For example, if you're using Snowflake, then it will compile the code into Snowflake SQL so that it can run the queries inside of Snowflake. And DBT Core, it's open source. It's very easy for testing data. This will give you data integrity, which ensures the validity of the data, the accuracy of the data, so it's accurate, and consistency of data. This is very important so that different stakeholders can trust the data. If they don't trust the data, then data engineering and data analytics won't help to drive business processes. So they won't be able to take a data-driven decision based on that. So this is very important, that using DBT to actually test the data and test the models so that we actually get the transformations that we want and make sure that the data is not faulty, because that will lead to bad decisions. It's also very good for documentation. So you can create automatically data lineage. So this means that we can follow the data from the different transformation steps and see the changes in the different steps and how the data becomes. So DBT, it's a super good tool. So let's dive in to check it out. So here is the documentation, for example. So it's a web-based auto-generated documentation to understand the data models. And here are different models. And if you're clicking here, you come into the lineage. So here is the lineage. And from this, you can see this is from the staging, and then it goes to you see there's different models, and then different models contribute to the next model, etc. So you can see which models before affects the ones that is after, and this is called the data lineage. So you can follow along how the data has been transformed. Otherwise, there's a problem with working with SQL in teams because, for example, someone has transformed the data and then another one looks at it and don't understand what has been transformed. But with dbt, you can follow the process from start to finish. So this is a really good advantage. And here is an example of the source code. So here you have source code of dbt, and it's compiled to the chosen database engine's code. For example, here we have chosen Snowflake. So this code here from dbt, you can see here Jinja macros, for example, that we talked about. And these have been transformed into, compiled into Snowflake SQL. And if you, for example, DuckDB, then it will compile into DuckDB code. The file structure of dbt, we'll look into this before we finish the video. So here you can see this is the main config file, so dbt project.yaml. And this one, and then you have models. So here are the SQL files that you use for transforming the data. And here are for ad hoc analysis, some small analysis. And macros, you have your reusable SQL snippets. And we'll go into the rest later on. So I don't want to bother you with all the details right now. So we will go into more into the file structure when we actually go into the code. And then also there's some more details in the documentation that we have, the repo that is provided in this video. You can look there for more details about the file structure of dbt. So I hope this gives you an introduction of what dbt is, and hopefully this helps you into getting interested in dbt and use it for your projects. So see you in the next video. Bye.